The sun-drenched paradise of Newport Beach, California, has long been synonymous with wealth, privilege, and the California dream. With its pristine beaches, multi-million-dollar yachts, and palatial Mediterranean-style estates, this exclusive coastal enclave represents the pinnacle of luxury living. But beneath the glittering surface of this affluent community flowed dark undercurrents of greed, manipulation, and ultimately murder. At the center of this darkness stood Nannette Johnson, a beautiful, calculating predator whose insatiable appetite for wealth would lead her down a path of deception, betrayal, and cold-blooded killing. Part 1. The Making of a Predator. Nannette Johnston's early life remains shrouded in mystery, a blank canvas upon which she would later paint various fictional personas to suit her needs. Born in the late 1960s, she grew up in middle-class surroundings that failed to satisfy her growing hunger for the finer things in life. Even as a young woman, acquaintances noted her uncanny ability to assess people's financial worth within moments of meeting them, coupled with a chameleon-like talent for becoming exactly what her targets wanted her to be. By her mid-20s, Johnston had developed a sophisticated modus operandi. She frequented upscale bars and restaurants in Newport Beach and surrounding affluent communities, always impeccably dressed and carefully made up to accentuate her natural beauty. Her hunting grounds included charity galas, yacht clubs, and high-end fitness centers. Anywhere wealthy, often older men might congregate. She carried herself with an air of refined elegance that belied her modest origins, having carefully studied the manners and affectations of the upper class. Johnston's first documented victim was Tom Reynolds, a nightclub bouncer who encountered her at an upscale Newport Beach establishment where he worked the door. Reynolds, a physically imposing but emotionally vulnerable man in his late 30s, found himself immediately captivated by the beautiful young woman who seemed so genuinely interested in him. She had this way of making you feel like you were the most important person in the room, Reynolds recalled years later, still sounding somewhat bewildered. Within days of meeting, she was basically living at my place. She redecorated everything. New white furniture, new electronics, the works. At first I was flattered by all the attention. But the fairy tale romance took a sinister turn when Reynolds made a shocking discovery. While cleaning out a closet, he stumbled upon a copy of an exclusive Sugar Daddy magazine containing Johnston's personal ad. Beautiful, sophisticated young woman seeks wealthy gentleman for mutually beneficial arrangement. Discretion assured. You take care of me, I'll take care of you. This discovery peeled back the first layer of Johnston's carefully constructed facade, revealing the cold calculation beneath. Reynolds immediately confronted her, prompting Johnston to pack her things and disappear without a trace. Her pattern already established. She left behind thousands of dollars in credit card debt in Reynolds' name, along with a shattered man who would spend years recovering financially and emotionally from the encounter. Part 2. The Big Score, targeting Bill McLaughlin. Emboldened by her early successes and always seeking bigger scores, Johnston set her sights on William Bill McLaughlin, a 52-year-old self-made millionaire who had recently gone through a painful divorce. McLaughlin, the co-inventor of a revolutionary medical centrifuge, had amassed considerable wealth through his biomedical company. Emotionally vulnerable and new to the dating scene after decades of marriage, he represented the perfect target for Johnston's predatory instincts. Their meeting, like so much of Johnston's history, remains shrouded in some mystery. Some accounts suggest they met at a charity fundraiser. Others claim it was through mutual acquaintances at the Newport Beach Yacht Club. What is certain is that Johnston immediately recognized McLaughlin as her golden ticket, a wealthy, emotionally needy man who could provide the luxurious lifestyle she craved. Friends and family of McLaughlin noticed alarming changes almost immediately after Johnston entered his life. It was like watching a slow-motion train wreck, recalled Sandy Baumgartner, a longtime family friend. Bill went from being this cautious, analytical businessman to making irrational decisions at Nannette's prompting. Within months, she had moved into his waterfront home and was making unilateral changes to everything from the decor to his social circle. Most disturbingly, Johnston began systematically isolating McLaughlin from his 3 adult children, who grew increasingly alarmed by their father's transformation. His daughter, Kim McLaughlin, would later testify, "We tried to warn him. We showed him evidence of her past schemes, but he just dismissed it. She had this psychological hold over him that was terrifying to witness." The financial manipulations followed swiftly. Johnston convinced McLaughlin to add her name to his bank accounts, rewrite his will in her favor, and, most crucially, take out a $1 million life insurance policy with her as the sole beneficiary. When McLaughlin's financial advisor expressed concerns about these changes, Johnston engineered his dismissal. Part 3. The murder plot unfolds. As the relationship progressed, investigators would later piece together that Johnston grew impatient waiting for her payday. Witnesses reported hearing increasingly heated arguments behind closed doors, with McLaughlin allegedly expressing second thoughts about their arrangement. Johnston, sensing her golden opportunity slipping away, began laying the groundwork for a more permanent solution. Through her connections in Newport Beach's underworld, cultivated at the same upscale bars where she hunted her marks, Johnston met an ex-convict with ties to organized crime. Jailhouse informants would later testify that Johnston carefully researched murder-for-hire schemes, asking disturbingly specific questions about untraceable methods and alibis. The final act played out with chilling precision on the evening of December 15, 1994. McLaughlin was ambushed in his own garage upon returning home from a business dinner, shot execution-style in the back of the head with a small caliber pistol. The crime scene showed signs of careful staging, no signs of forced entry, no murder weapon recovered, and nothing obviously stolen to suggest a robbery gone wrong. Initially, Johnston played the role of grieving lover to perfection, tearfully telling investigators how she had discovered the body. But cracks quickly appeared in her story. Detectives noted her suspiciously calm demeanor when she thought no one was watching, and her immediate inquiries about accessing McLaughlin's accounts and insurance policies. Part 4. The investigation and trial. The investigation into McLaughlin's murder became one of the most intensive in Orange County history. Forensic accountants traced a complex web of financial transactions, showing Johnston's mounting debts and her sudden interest in McLaughlin's assets. Phone records revealed repeated calls between Johnston and her ex-convict boyfriend in the weeks leading up to the murder. Most damning was the discovery of a voicemail Johnston had left McLaughlin just hours before his death. In a calm, measured tone, she could be heard saying, "Bill, we need to talk about the insurance. I think you'll want to hear what I have to say." This recording, coupled with testimony from the hitman who turned state's evidence, formed the backbone of the prosecution's case. The trial captivated Southern California, with daily media coverage dissecting every twist and turn. Prosecutors painted Johnston as a cold, calculating predator who viewed human relationships as transactional opportunities. The defense, meanwhile, attempted to portray her as a naive young woman caught up in circumstances beyond her control. In the end, the jury saw through the facade. After just 7 hours of deliberation, they returned a guilty verdict on charges of first-degree murder and conspiracy to commit murder. The judge, calling it one of the most cold-blooded crimes he'd ever encountered, sentenced Johnston to life in prison without the possibility of parole. Epilogue: the high cost of greed. Today, Nannette Johnston's story stands as a cautionary tale about the corrupting power of greed and the dangerous allure of the Newport Beach dream. For Bill McLaughlin's family, the verdict brought some measure of justice, though nothing could fill the void left by his brutal murder. As for Johnston, the woman who once flitted between luxury yachts and beachfront mansions now spends her days in a 6x9 prison cell at the California Institution for Women. In rare interviews, she maintains her innocence, though corrections officers report she remains as manipulative as ever, constantly working angles and favors within the prison system. The case continues to fascinate true crime enthusiasts and legal scholars alike, serving as a textbook example of how financial motives can corrupt the human soul. It stands as a stark reminder that behind the beautiful facades of America's wealthiest communities, the darkest human impulses often lurk just beneath the surface. Subscribe for latest updates.